It's Friday and it's time for another 5-minute murder. I want to introduce you to a new little friend we have here. We've got a little tattoo that I picked up at a show, taken off of some skin to go with our nice little head here. So, just adding to the collection here. You know, I go to all of these conventions and stuff, and I meet so many amazing artists and some really, really cool stuff, some very macabre stuff sometimes. And every once in a while, I got to bring a piece home for the display down here. And so I thought that was fitting for the table. So we're going to select a card. We're going to do a little 5-minute murder, and then we're going to get moving. Let me pull one out here. All right. So today we have the Angel of Death, Charles Edmund Cullen. So Charles Cullen was born February 22nd, 1960. He is an American serial killer who confessed to murdering up to 40 patients during the course of his 16-year career as a nurse in New Jersey. However, in subsequent interviews with police, psychiatrists, and journalists, it became apparent that he had killed many more. Experts have estimated that Cullen may ultimately be responsible for 400 deaths. Cullen stated that he administered overdoses to patients in order to spare them from being coded or going into cardiac or respiratory arrest and being listed as a code blue emergency. Cullen also stated that he gave patients overdoses so that he could end their suffering. So hence the name Angel of Death. You know, it's interesting because there are several doctors and nurses that are men that end up becoming angels of death, but it's even more prevalent with females, right? There are lots of nurses that go around. Often it is to end suffering, but sometimes it's just that they're tired of hearing the different people complain, right? Because, you know, you work in a hospital, you work long hours. Obviously, these people are psychotic as well. They have some serious issues. But, you know, you see people at their worst. They're at the most difficult times in their lives, going through horrible, you know, surgeries and recoveries. And if you work in like an elderly home, people at the end of their life. And so these people eventually rationalize that it's okay, that nobody's going to miss these people, that maybe they should have been gone a long time ago. Maybe their suffering needs to end. And so that they end up doing these things. Now, Edmund Cullen is interesting because he's different than a lot of the other men that have done this. You also have Harold Shipman, who was the doctor in England. You know, he is currently believed to be one of the most prolific serial killers with over 300. You know, Cullen was convicted of 40, but maybe up to 400, so that would make him probably the most prolific serial killer ever. But it's, you know, fascinating the psychology that these people have to commit acts like that, because when you become a nurse or you are deciding to care for other people, you know, you're taking an oath to care for their well-being and to keep them healthy and to, you know, to help them. And somewhere in there, the wires get crossed and they realize, or they believe, that ending their life ends up being more humane than allowing them to continue to suffer. So that brings up a whole different set of questions, right? You know, you have Jack Kevorkian, who was the guy who did the assisted suicide for people. And, you know, he had his van and people would sign, you know, paperwork saying that they wanted to die. And he would give them the means to carry out that assisted suicide, right? He didn't do anything. He didn't actually kill those people, but he gave them the possibility to be able to do that. And they wanted it. So in a case like Kevorkian, is it wrong to give somebody the means to do what they already want to do, or to allow them to ease the pain that they're going through in life? And so that has been a huge topic of discussion for many, many years since Kevorkian did that. Now, I'm not suggesting that Cullen, even though he may have believed that's what he was doing, those people did not consent to his remedy, right? They didn't consent to what he was doing. And it was obvious that he was using that as a crutch to like allow his mind to accept what he was doing, right? He wanted to do it anyway. He wanted to kill people, and he found a reason to do it. And many people do that. All of these different serial killers and stuff that we talk about, they all find a way to rationalize it in their mind as it either being a good thing, or they're helping society, they're cleaning up the streets, right? They all figure out a way to be able to rationalize that in their own mind so that they don't have to deal with the consequences or the difficulty. You know, they're already lacking empathy to begin with, and then they have to find a way to numb that a little bit more so that they can continue to fulfill those really dark desires that they have. And Charles Cullen is no different. There was another killer here in Cincinnati, where I live, Donald Harvey, who also killed 250 people, also a hospital nurse, and would go around and help people, right? But he wouldn't just like overdose them. He would also, place a pillow over their head and smother them. So, it's amazing. And, I grew up, my mom was a nurse. And for those of you that hear me talk all the time, you know that I grew up in a very, very difficult situation and a very abusive household. And growing up that way and being in the community, I understand how easy it is for somebody who has serious mental illness to work in a field where they have access to drugs, they have access to people, and it is simple to have something go wrong, right? And there are all kinds of ways to do that. So, it's a scary thing when you go into a hospital and you place your trust in these other people and you hope that they are going to, keep your best interest in mind, and that doesn't always happen. There are people that break that trust, not just murder, but also, we've heard in recent years about doctors and nurses drugging patients, and when they're under, doing things to them, whether it's sexually or taking pictures and all kinds of stuff, right? That they violate that trust, and that happens. It's not widespread, thankfully, but it is something that we all have to consider when we place our trust in other people and we go under any kind of anesthesia, and you are no longer in control of the situation and what's happening. All kinds of things can happen. Of course, at the same time, we need those services and we need those people, because in our weakest moments, we have to place our trust in someone that can help us, get healthy again. So it is a scary thing, and there's a lot of apprehension out there because of people like Charles Cullen, Donald Harvey, Harold Shipman, that in the medical community, there can be serious implications, and there can be serious issues with people that take advantage of other people, and they find a wealth of easy targets because people are vulnerable. So, it's crazy. And there's all kinds of other people. I can't think of names right now, but there's a bunch of nursing home murders that have happened. People that have been caregivers there, that have taken advantage of, elderly people and ended their lives. And it's just, it's amazing. And if you get a chance, Catherine Ramsland wrote a book on the psychology of healthcare killers. And I don't have it yet, but I'm looking at getting that book because I think it's a fascinating topic, the psychology that goes into that. The person starting out wanting to help and to cure other people, and then somewhere along the path decides that the best way to help and care for those people is to end their life. And it is a fascinating bit of psychology. But there you go. There's Charles Cullen, and check him out, look into him. Fascinating story. Matter of fact, I'm going to be going to the Philadelphia area here in about a month or so, and I'm probably going to stop by some of the, probably the hospital where Cullen worked and did most of his killing. So look out for that. I'll probably do a video, a little Route 666 on Charles Edmund Cullen as well. But if you haven't done this yet, make sure you go to my Kickstarter. I'm going to post the link below in the show comments, and go and pick up the Kickstarter. Pick up The Profiler. It is on Kickstarter. It is a social deduction game. It is incredible. Make sure you get that and you have that on your table and really, really dig in because it is a very unique game. So thank you guys for joining us, and I will see you next week.
Have you ever wanted to be a detective, to investigate the crime scene and catch the criminal? Well, welcome to Death, New Mexico, a town just off the famous Route 666. A pretty quiet town until recently. There have been a string of murders. In the social deduction game, The Profiler, you have 60 minutes to investigate the crime scene, interrogate your witnesses, and determine who the killer is and what kind of killer they are to win. What will happen when you become the profiler?
Without me, I said